What if I told you that ignoring workplace safety could actually land you in jail? Yep. OSHA isn't just about fines and citations. Under certain circumstances, individuals have faced criminal prosecution and even served hard time. Stick around because today is kind of intense. If you like our YouTube videos, make sure to check out our video subscription to access over 150 video courses. Check it out at allysafety.com. Hi, I'm Rachel from Ally Safety, and I'm a workplace health and safety pro. And today I'll be walking you through how people can be sent to jail for OSHA violations, along with some specific examples of both employers and employees who have done jail time for their actions. First things first, OSHA primarily enforces safety through fines and citations, but in extreme cases, employers and even coworkers can face criminal charges. Now, under the OSHA Act, OSHA can actually bring criminal charges against an employer for the following: willful violations causing an employee's death, providing an advance notice of an OSHA inspection, and providing false statements on a document required by the Act. You're probably wondering, how does an OSHA violation escalate to a criminal case? Well, it doesn't happen like an OSHA officer shows up to your site, throws the cuffs on someone, and off they go in a police car. Here's the actual process. First, there's the OSHA investigation. Usually, it's after a serious incident, and OSHA conducts an investigation to determine if there were any violations of safety standards. Then, if OSHA finds willful violations, especially those that resulted in fatalities, they can refer the case to state district attorney offices. A district attorney then reviews the case to determine if those involved should be charged with criminal violations. Now, criminal prosecutions under the Occupational Safety and Health Act have historically been infrequent. States under federal OSHA jurisdiction don't require criminal investigations unless there's clear evidence of gross negligence or misconduct. In fact, since its enactment in 1970, federal OSHA has referred only about 151 cases for criminal prosecution, despite over 400,000 workplace fatalities during that same period. However, recent trends indicate an increase in criminal prosecutions. So that's federal OSHA. But what if your state has its own OSHA program? Well, in that case, individual states are sometimes more proactive. For example, in California, Cal OSHA's Bureau of Investigations investigates the fatality and then determines whether or not to refer cases to the local district attorney's office for potential criminal prosecution. That decision is a defined part of their process. So depending on where you operate, the likelihood of criminal charges could be higher. Now, I think it's important to actually see what types of issues have actually led to jail time historically. So here are some real-life examples of individuals who faced jail time due to workplace safety violations. Example 1, employer negligence. In 2020, the owner of a framing company in Naples, Florida, pled guilty to one count of willfully violating federal fall protection standards after a worker fell about 19.5 feet to his death. This was during a residential new construction build. The employee wasn't wearing fall protection. OSHA found that in the weeks leading up to the fatality, including on the day of the fall, other contractors warned the framing company's owner repeatedly about his employers not wearing the required equipment on the job. OSHA also found that the owner had taken an 8-hour OSHA worker safety course while working as a foreman in his last job. So they argued that he should have recognized the dangers of not having fall protection equipment. The result in this case was 30 days in jail. Example 2, management failure. Managers and even safety managers can also be held criminally responsible. Now, let me warn you, this case is pretty extreme and it didn't even involve a fatality. So a safety manager in Tennessee was working for a maintenance company that served nuclear sites. The safety manager provided false and misleading information about injuries at 3 different nuclear facilities to the extent that he generated false injury rates, which were then used by the contractor to collect safety bonuses of over $2.5 million from the nuclear facilities. The safety manager was convicted of providing the false information about injuries by underreporting their number and severity. Now, the evidence that they presented at the trial encompassed over 80 injuries, including broken bones, torn ligaments, hernias, lacerations, and shoulder, back, and knee injuries that were not properly recorded. Some employees testified that they were denied or delayed proper medical treatment as a result of this fraud. Evidence showed that the safety manager intentionally misrepresented or simply just lied about how the injuries had occurred and how serious the injuries were. The judge sentenced the corrupt safety manager to serve 78 months in prison, followed by 2 years of supervised release. Example 3, worker negligence. It's not just business owners or management that can face charges. Employees can too, although it is much less common. And just a heads up, this last one is dramatic, gruesome, and also just really sad. So in June of 2013, a 4-story building under demolition in Philadelphia collapsed onto the 1-story building next door after an excavator operator knocked down a wall, causing the 4-story structure to topple. The 2 buildings crashed down, killing 7 people and injuring 14 others. Drug tests showed that there was marijuana in the operator's system. He also admitted to taking codeine and other drugs. The operator was charged with 6 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 13 counts of recklessly endangering another person, and 1 count of risking a catastrophe. He was found guilty of manslaughter and received a sentence of 7.5 to 15 years. As though this tragedy hadn't claimed enough lives, the inspector that was responsible for inspecting the demolition site was found dead in his vehicle with a gunshot wound to the chest not long after the incident. His death was ruled a suicide. The inspector had actually recorded a video shortly before his death where he expressed remorse and culpability for the collapse. Quote, "It was my fault. I should have looked at those guys working, and I didn't." This is an example of the devastating consequences that can ripple out from workplace accidents. So how can you stay out of OSHA's crosshairs? Here's what you need to know. Follow OSHA standards. There's a saying that all OSHA standards are written in blood because all of the accidents and fatalities that had to occur for these safety rules to be put in place. There's a reason they're there, so follow them. Address citations promptly. If OSHA flags an issue, fix it immediately. Don't let hazards just lag on and on and on. Maintain honest records. Never falsify documents or attempt to cover up incidents. Although the saying is cheesy, honesty is the best policy is really the best policy. And lastly, do the right thing to protect employees even if there's no specific OSHA rule mandating it. The OSHA General Duty Clause states employers have to provide a safe and healthy workplace for their employees. It's their responsibility. Plus, it's also just a matter of integrity to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. With all this in mind, I know it's easy to get overwhelmed by compliance requirements at times, but doing the right thing will always go a long way to keeping you out of trouble. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever witnessed an employer ignoring OSHA rules? What happened? Share your stories in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, hit that like and subscribe button for more real-world safety insights. As always, take care and stay safe. Hi, Rachel from Ally Safety here. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out the Ally Safety Toolbox Talk membership at allysafety.com. There you'll find an entire library of videos that are created to make safety entertaining. I'll see you there at allysafety.com.